Jean-Pierre Lucier was waiting for the bus when the driver drove past him without stopping. Court documents reveal the driver claimed Lucier was not at the stop at the right time, but the commuter presented video evidence which showed the 78-year-old was already at the bus stop.
I think I might have an unconventional solution to some of the traffic in Newfoundland that's lining up for that Taco Bell.
You are listening to Keep Canada Weird.
Handsome Aaron Airport. We're almost there. This is our road to episode 200. We're here tonight for episode 199 of Keep Canada Weird, a weekly weird news roundup where we collect, explore, and in some cases celebrate all the unique and offbeat news stories that played out across the past week in this great country of Canada. Before we get to tonight's many weird stories, let me ask, how are you, and did you survive the hellish amount of snow we had over the last week here in Nova Scotia?
Well, yes, I have survived. This is not the ghost of Aaron Airport in front of you today. This is the fully formed biological thing that I always have been.
But is this biological thing with a sore back from shoveling?
Well, I didn't have to shovel today. The shoveling is all done, but I did shovel yesterday, and the driveway gets plowed. There's like 3 apartments in this building, and I'm one of them, and I'm the only shoveler of the group.
Oh,
so,
great. You do the heavy lifting, literally.
I do, yeah. So I shovel all the steps, and I clean up the parking lot, too, because the plow comes, but if the cars are parked, then the plow can't get all of the spots. So I take a big scoop shovel and go out there, and I clean it up for everybody.
Like a real man. I have a double wide driveway, like it's wide enough for 2 cars side to side, and it's on a hill, and it's long. So the last few days have been long ones for me. We had maybe 30 centimeters of snow here in Nova Scotia. Mm-hmm. The scary part is they're calling for even more snow than we've already had this weekend. Yeah. So unless things change, we got a tough week ahead of us, I suspect. But let's not get bogged down with all of that stuff. Let's instead toast to our special drinks of the night. We got a lot of interesting stories, so we need something extra special tonight. I got, I don't know if you know this brand, Dad's Root Beer.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Yeah, that's called Dad's Old Fashioned Root Beer. I have a diet and caffeine-free one. I took a bit of a chance here. I was thinking we may need some caffeine tonight because we do have a lot of heavy lifting to get into with these stories. But I went with just the regular caffeine-free Dad's Root Beer. Let me try it. Delicious, refreshing, creamy, and it's in a glass like beer bottle, which as someone who doesn't drink, I actually feel a bit like a badass tonight. So who knows what's going to happen?
I better watch out because you could be you could get aggressive on that.
What do you got over there?
I'm back to something I've had before. It's a herbal tea. It's called the flavor is Bengal Spice by Celestial, and it's always a hit, always delicious. And I'm going to take a sip right now. Oh yeah, perfectly steeped. It's excellent.
Let's get right into it here. We're going to start and open the show with updates on 2 prior stories we discussed. I'm going to give you the choice. Do you want to hear about the theft of horsehair or Taco Bell invading Newfoundland?
Well, they're both delicious. Let's start with Taco Bell.
Let's start with horsehair.
Oh, okay. Then never ask me again.
In episode 198, we heard the story of the horse haircut mystery in British Columbia.
Gypsy's owner and her tenant noticed the mysterious clipping before the holidays, when the horse was brought in from the hobby farm's feeding area after dinner.
She just said, did you cut Gypsy's tail? No, of course I did not. She goes, well, she's missing half her tail.
Leanne thinks the person got in cutting a barbed wire fence and took it personally until she heard it happen to someone else nearby.
And we speculated why someone would cut and steal horsehair. Turns out the Keep Canada Weird correspondent community had many theories. So rather than listen to 25 voicemails right now, let me present to you a horse haircut mystery theory collage. I call it an HHMTC. And it covers everything from it being related to vacuum cleaners to the horse hair theft being sexual in nature.
Mm.
Here's a collage of theories about the horse haircut mystery we explored in episode 198.
Hello, Erin and Jordan. It's Tracy calling from Frosty, Ontario. I'm a long-time equestrian, and usually when I hear stories like this, it makes me think that there's a vendetta out against this owner. Some people, when they're angry at other horse people, they will break into barns and cut their forelocks off or cut their tails.
There is horsehair pottery that people make that they need horsehair for, so that's a possibility.
There are a lot of uses for horsehair, including instruments, like you said, with violins. That's also used for stiffening in textiles and like formal wear, especially men's jackets.
Now, she mentioned that the hair is likely used for art purposes, which is entirely possible because a lot of paintbrushes use horsehair.
I think some of my makeup brushes might have horsehair. I know that when I bought a vacuum cleaner like a long time ago, I think it had some sort of horsehair on it as well at the brush at the bottom, not sure.
There was a vile, disgusting human in the news going around on Facebook who sexually assaulted 3 horses in British Columbia. So I wonder if there's a connection with that because, like, who cuts a horse's hair? That is so bizarre.
Wow. As you can hear, the theories are all across the spectrum. You famously suggested that it could be to make what I would assume is the world's itchiest and least comfortable sweater of horsehair. But what I'm learning now is that you can do almost anything with horsehair, and I almost want some.
Yeah, but after hearing that last piece of the collage of voicemails and theories, suggesting that it's sexual in nature, I now totally think that's it.
Who knows? But interesting learning moment that horsehair is quite a magical thing. And all the horse owners out there, I'd say protect your horses because they're much more valuable than I would have thought. At least their tails are. Let's get to the bigger update, though. I want to talk to you about the Taco Bell saga that's been playing out in Newfoundland. We've been covering it for, I think, 3 or 4 weeks now, watching every twist and turn in this. When we talked in 198, we heard how a man, Rob Thompson, on behalf of his parents who had problems with their driveway, getting in and out of their driveway, issued an ultimatum to the city saying, you have, I think it was like 1 week to either fix this or I'm suing you or I'm taking you to court. Well, here's the update. Rod Thompson and the residents living near the Taco Bell in Mount Pearl have officially landed a court date, but it comes with a caveat. A judge has set a hearing for February 3rd, but in doing so, encouraged both sides to try to settle this thing outside of the courtroom. Thompson says that the judge described his filing as well put together, and he didn't dismiss the case, which Thompson views as a validation that his concerns have merit. Additionally, the city has stationed enforcement officers near the Taco Bell over the weekend during peak times, and while traffic issues stopped while they were present, the problems returned just as soon as they left. So for now, this is all a waiting game. If the city agrees to meaningful change, it could end quickly. If not, on February 3rd, there's going to be a showdown.
Wow.
He gave them the ultimatum. They didn't do anything. He got it into a courtroom and has February 3rd as the date. That's just a little over a week away.
Mm-hmm. It's all happening very fast, and it's very exciting.
It is exciting. It's like watching a Netflix drama play out in real time here.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I commend him for having the gusto to do all of this and to get it done efficiently and professionally as well. It sounds like this guy really has his stuff together. But what happens if it goes to court and he wins against the city? Like, what is the city then, like, is the only punishment to the city them being forced to put in traffic officers? Or
yeah, the issue is that the lineup to the Taco Bell drive-thru leaves the Taco Bell property and stretches down the road, basically making that road shut down, which is against the traffic bylaws in Mount Pearl. So what he's saying is you're not enforcing these rules. If these people are going to be stopping in traffic, waiting to turn right into Taco Bell, you need to be giving them tickets.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of like it's a complicated situation because if there's a whole bunch of like, does he expect a bunch of bylaw enforcement officers just to be there all the time, just passing out tickets to these people?
Yeah.
I think the issue is you would have thought this would have fixed itself at this point, but it hasn't. It's been almost 3 weeks, and these lineups are continuing to cause a problem to people in that area. And it's like, it's easy to roll your eyes at. Like, come on, it's just a drive through a little lineup. But if you had to leave for work like 40 minutes early because there's a lineup to the Taco Bell drive through that has shut down your street and you basically have to, wait in line to get out of your driveway, I'd be so upset. I'd put up with it for a day or two, maybe. But at this point, I'd be raging.
Yeah. I don't think Taco Bell serves breakfast, though, do they?
Well, what if you work nights?
Sure. Yeah, that would be possible. But
Yeah.
I mean, I assumed that the lineups would fade over time as the novelty wore off, and the people who were obsessed with it in the beginning have had it and can then go to a more healthy fast food schedule after that, where it's like, yeah, I'm going to have it once a month or once every 2 months or whatever it is. But it seems like this is not stopping. It's continuing. It's out of control still. So it does seem like I kind of almost laughed and brushed aside his threats of legal action in the early days of this story. But now knowing that this is still an issue, it's still traffic backup constantly, I now support him going to court to force the city to do something about this. And I think that by the sounds of it, he's going to be successful.
I think so. You mentioned last week this idea you had, or a solution you had to this problem, is that Taco Bell open a second location or maybe set up a temporary like food truck sort of operation to at least spread this traffic out over several areas. That idea, I think, actually made its way to Taco Bell corporate. I just want to read you one other paragraph here about the manager of Taco Bell Canada commenting on this. Taco Bell Canada's general manager, Matt Shaw, has described the Mount Pearl opening as one of the strongest debuts the chain has seen anywhere in the world. Shaw says there's no immediate plans to announce another location in Newfoundland, but the overwhelming response has firmly positioned Newfoundland as a long-term growth market for the brand. So I think even like corporate Taco Bell is like, what the hell is going on here? Like, we haven't planned anything else, but we're going to have to consider it because apparently people in Newfoundland are nuts about what I consider crappy burritos and tacos.
Yeah, but there is a charm to the crap, though. Some things that are crappy are good because there's just certain buttons that they press inside you. There are times where it's like, you know what I'm craving right now is not the world's best pizza. I want a Greco, a greasy, slightly burnt Greco pizza right now.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
And same thing with burgers and Burger King. Like, Burger King is not like the best burgers, but there's something about them that's just, for me, it's like almost irresistible.
Yeah, where you crave Burger King or you crave Wendy's, like very specific tastes and ways they put it together. It's just, it's not the best or anywhere close to the best burger you will ever have in your life. But there's certain comfort buttons that it presses, and Taco Bell is like that.
Yeah.
And
I'm just surprised that Taco Bell is pressing that button for so many people that weeks later we're still talking about this and it's heading into court. We have a listener who has a possible solution to this issue that I think is a bit more extreme than what you came up with. I'll call this like maybe Kelly's disgusting awareness campaign idea.
Hey, Jordan and Aaron, this is Kelly, your correspondent from New Orleans, Louisiana. Haven't called in quite a while. Trying to hold back a little bit as this is a Canadian podcast and I don't want to overstep too much in a time of a lot of overstepping. But I think I might have an unconventional solution to some of the traffic in Newfoundland that's lining up for that Taco Bell. Several years ago, my family was traveling through Alabama on a wrestling trip with my son. And it was late at night, and there's not a lot of options off the highway in Alabama late at night. So we saw a sign for Taco Bell. We drove in, And we ordered an assortment of different items. And the woman informed us that she could only give us the chicken items and not the beef items because the meat hose was broken. So, of course, we were wondering, as I'm sure you are, what's a meat hose? So we asked that question, and she said it's what they use to put the meat slurry in the beef tacos and burritos. And they couldn't do that when the meat hose was broken. So I did have questions about a meat slurry, but I decided not to ask any more questions. So I thought maybe if there was a way that you could spread this information to the folks in Newfoundland, it might cut down on some of the traffic.
I think what Kelly's suggesting there is maybe if people saw what was in this food and how it was made, they'd be less likely to wait for hours in a lineup in blocked streets to get it. I will just say, for anyone out there who enjoys fast food, the last thing you want to do is learn anything about what's in it or how it's made.
Yeah, and what she's suggesting is that people in Newfoundland love their meat hoses.
And their beef slurry. Yeah, that's disturbing. But I think maybe if it comes to it, like if Rod Thompson's court case doesn't work in his favor, what he could do is maybe set himself maybe like on his parents' front lawn or something, maybe some billboards with like photos of how the food's made and maybe like stats about like, people having digestive problems after eating it and stuff. That could be interesting and maybe another way to solve it. But we don't have time to help any more Newfoundlanders with their Taco Bell issues. We got to get into the weird Canadian news stories from the past week. But this Taco Bell story is actually an amazing jumping off point. Thinking about this ending in court and it being this big thing kind of inspired me to look up some other legal arguments in court cases that played out or had decisions over the past week. And it turns out that, and I'll say it right now, this past week has been the most interesting week in Canadian court decision history. We'll get into them after this short break. Handsome Aaron Airport, we're going to court. Let's start in Montreal. A 78-year-old man in Montreal experienced the all-too-familiar nightmare every public transit rider experiences at some point in their lives. He stood at the bus stop, ticket in hand, and the bus drove right past him. Rather than kicking a can and cursing under his breath, this 78-year-old man took the bus to court.
According to the judgment from Small Claims Court, the incident happened right here on Queen Mary Road in August of 2024. Jean-Pierre Lucier was waiting for the bus when the driver drove past him without stopping. He filed 2 complaints to the STM, but both times they were rejected. Court documents reveal the STM driver claimed Lucier was not at the stop at the right time. The driver adds they saw someone running and stopping the bus at that moment would have been dangerous. But the commuter presented video evidence which showed the 78-year-old was already at the bus stop. He even raised his hand to get the attention of the driver. According to the judge, the transportation agency failed to meet its legal obligation to riders under the Civil Code of Quebec. The judge has ordered the agency to pay $2,000 to Lucier. In a statement to CTV News, the STM says, "We disagree with the application of certain legal principles in this decision, particularly regarding the transport contract, which in fact comes into existence only at the moment of boarding and not at the time of purchasing the fare." It says it will comply with the ruling and pay the money.
That's wild. I tip my hat to this 78-year-old for standing his ground. He gets pissed off because the bus drove right past him. He complains to, it's called the STM, which is like the Transit Commission in Montreal. They do nothing. He escalates it and complains a second time. They do nothing. So he takes them to small claims court. I think that's amazing.
Yeah, no, it's a good move. When I was in my 20s, I used to take the bus everywhere. And this has happened a number of times where I'd be standing at the bus stop and the bus just flies right past me. And even with a little wave or whatever. And had I known that I could take the transit, company to small claims court and get maybe $2,000 out of it, then certainly I would have done that and would have loved when the bus passed me by because then I'd be like, all right, I'm getting paid.
Cha-ching. Yeah, I think what can happen is that a busier bus stop, like a bus stop that serves several routes, the bus will kind of slow down, and if no one like steps forward, the bus driver I think is like, they're probably just waiting for like, a different route or something. I wonder if it was something like that happened because I used to wait for the bus again in my like 20s at a busy bus stop in Halifax where maybe like 10 different routes went by, like 10 different buses. And they would often do that. They'd slow down and like look at me and I would like wave them off like, no, I'm waiting for, the next bus or, number 16 or something. And then when number 16 came, if I didn't like walk right up to the curb to like get on, they would blow past.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if something like this happened to this man. But whatever it was, he was right. He argued or he complained twice. He didn't get nowhere. He takes them to small claims court, and to show their true colors, the bus driver says he came up with an excuse. He said, like, I saw this guy running for the bus. It was dangerous for me to stop, so I had to just keep going. He put it on the 78-year-old man. But the 78-year-old man, he came with receipts. He showed in court a video of him standing at the bus stop with like his hand up to signal to the driver, like, I want to get on. And the guy went right by. And he called, the bus driver called him a liar. He proved he was wrong. And I wonder if that was a part of the judge's decision. Because $2,000, like, I wonder where that, like, how they came up with that amount.
Right. I don't know, because I was wondering that myself, because usually it's like there's medical bills involved. There's different things that bring you to some type of a total that makes sense. This is a different situation where it's just like, all right, $2,000, but I'm sure it's probably to cover maybe there was some legal fees, I don't know, but
the time he spent doing his complaints that got nowhere, a refund for the ticket, whatever that is, $3 or something
sure,
like that.
Yeah.
But it seemed like it also, and I don't understand it enough. I'm not from Montreal or Quebec, but there is also some kind of like rules or contract or something that's between the riders and the transit commission, because a part of the debate in this court, in this hearing, was whether or not he qualified as being like a rider at the time. I think his argument was, I had a ticket and I was there, so I was a rider. But their thing is like, you're not a rider till you actually get on the bus.
Right.
So there's a bit more to this court case, but I think the most interesting part of it is that something seemingly as petty as missing your bus, if you push it far enough and present a good case, you can get somewhere. And I think this man at the bus stop in Montreal has a little bit of a brotherhood with Rod Thompson in Newfoundland, who's sick of people lining up for Taco Bell on the street in front of his parents' house.
So before we leave this story, I have one burning question, and the thing that I was wondering the most after I read this story was, why was he filming?
What I think has happened is he wasn't filming. I think he's like, I'm taking him to court. I'm going to go knock on the business across the street and get their security cameras.
Okay, maybe it was, yeah.
Why would he have video of himself holding his hand up? It seems like he got video from a neighboring business or something. That's the only explanation.
Yeah, and they must have handed it over to him, I guess. So that would be interesting, but they didn't quite explain where the video came from. So I was wondering, like, was somebody else nearby filming? Yeah, because it seems like everything that happens out in the streets these days, somebody is filming you do it. So I was wondering, maybe he got to somebody who had cell phone footage of it, but I don't know. It's the security footage could make sense for sure.
That's what it had to be. I wonder if that $2,000 settlement in part is to cover the expenses for the private investigator he had to hire to make all this happen. Whatever it is, like they picked the wrong 78-year-old guy in Montreal to drive right past, and he showed them. Let's move on to another seemingly petty court case. There's a couple articles we got to read tonight. You want me to go first?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
Okay, let me tell you about that very hot oatmeal at the Vancouver airport and why oatmeal landed Air Canada in a small claims courtroom. A man who burned his hand on oatmeal in an airport lounge has officially lost his attempt to collect nearly $5,000 from Air Canada. The incident happened in May of 2023 inside the Maple Leaf Lounge at the Vancouver International Airport, where the traveler was helping himself to oatmeal from a heated self-serve container before a flight to Las Vegas. According to a tribunal's decision, the oatmeal splashed onto the man's hand, causing what was described as immediate and intense pain. The man later sought more than $2,200 in medical costs and nearly $2,800 for pain and suffering, arguing that the oatmeal was watery, extremely hot, and dangerous to serve without supervision. Medical records showed he suffered first and second-degree burns that took over a month to heal. Air Canada did acknowledge the burn had happened, but argued it wasn't responsible, and the tribunal agreed with them. The court ruled that letting adults serve themselves oatmeal does not constitute an unreasonable risk of harm. A tribunal member noted that the hot food is hot by definition. The container was clearly marked with a red flame symbol, and Air Canada is not required to protect competent adults from everyday tasks. The decision also rejected the argument that the oatmeal machine required special training to use it, pointing out that the passenger didn't operate the machine, just scooped food from it. The man also argued that Air Canada failed to provide proper first aid and tried to claim protection under air travel laws, but both arguments were dismissed. Eating oatmeal in an airport lounge, the tribunal ruled, does not count as part of the air travel process. And in the end, the claim was thrown out entirely. I love that case.
Yeah. It's one of those cases where I'm glad the person taking them to court got shut down. Because, yeah, you're handling hot oatmeal. You're the one that spilled it on yourself. They provided the hot oatmeal. And you could probably argue, well, the oatmeal was too hot for legal consumption, you know. But I don't know. No one was there to... Do they have records of what temperature the oatmeal was at when it was served?
They probably had to look into like this machine that it was in or whatever. Like they probably have an idea of how hot it was. That would have been a part of the decision. And maybe that's why he said it was too watery, because he had to come up with like, why did you spill it on yourself, Mr. Clumsy? So saying it was too watery is just kind of putting it back in their responsibility. But I like how the tribunal's decision made note of like, you doing a regular thing an adult could do is not something that Air Canada has to protect you against, because spilling oatmeal on yourself is not a lot different than if you were walking down Air Canada's hallway and just tripped over your own dumb feet and smashed your face on the ground. That's not really Air Canada's fault.
Yeah, and what a way to end this entire process for this guy, where he probably had a terrible flight. He
went to Vegas, probably lost his money.
He went to Vegas, lost all of his money, and he goes to this Maple Leaf Lounge, and at least I'm going to get some, a hot breakfast, and scalds himself on the hot oatmeal like a moron. And then decides, I'm taking them to court. I've been burned against my own will, and I've got to get some justice here. I've had the worst trip to Vegas in my life. And then goes through all of the hoops you got to jump through to take somebody to court. The paperwork, the lawyers, the this and the that, and then loses.
It's like, no, I hate Vegas and I hate the Maple Leaf Lounge.
I'm never gambling or eating oatmeal again.
These so far have been two seemingly petty, a little bit silly court cases that we've been able to laugh at on the backs of the Taco Bell situation. This next one, though, I dare say, may be the silliest court case that I've come across in a long time. This is somewhere between a silly court case and a dumb Canadian criminal. There's been some very sketchy and very Keep Canada Weird real estate agent drama playing out in Saskatchewan that recently ended up in court. I'm going to play you a short news clip that gives us some of the basics, but when you dive deeper, this gets really interesting. Here's some sketchy real estate agent stuff that's been happening.
A Regina realtor is in some hot water with the Saskatchewan Real Estate Commission. Sean Kundra, who works as a realtor in Regina and Calgary, has been ordered to pay 2 separate fines by the Saskatchewan Real Estate Commission. This stems from Kundra offering to pay his account manager to tamper with multiple Google business profiles of competing real estate companies. As a result, his certificate of registration was suspended for a month, and he has been ordered to pay a total of $10,000 in fines.
So like I said, that news clip, very brief, but it really just lays the foundation for what happened here. We hear about a real estate agent in Saskatchewan, I think out of Regina, who ended up losing his license for a month, had to pay several fines equaling somewhere above $10,000 related to basically committing like electronic vandalism against some of his competitors' Google listings, right?
Right.
So it seems silly, but seems pretty simple.
Yeah. Another day as a real estate agent, I guess.
Just messing with the competitors online.
Yeah.
Let me read you a paraphrased version of this actual hearing, because since he was brought before his regulatory body, there's a great timeline of everything that happened, and this is so high school puberty problem, bizarre behavior. Listen to this. The situation starts with real estate agent Sagar Kundra hiring a digital marketing firm in February of 2024 to manage and optimize 2 of his Google business profiles. In April, one of the profiles was suspended, and his account manager explained that the suspension was likely caused by unauthorized edits, noting that anyone can attempt to modify a Google business listing. That discovery led Kundra to suggest exploiting the same vulnerability against some competing real estate agents. Kundra offered to pay his account manager $500 to tamper with 2 Google business listings and sent the account manager links to a real estate team and another to an individual agent associated with that team. The account manager altered one listing to say that the business was permanently closed and changed the other to describe it as a bar or nightclub, and provided screenshots as proof that the edits had been made. When the account manager later asked to be paid, Kundra refused, saying his values would not allow him to pay for something destructive. As the dispute escalated, the account manager warned that he would share their messages with the affected businesses. Kundra responded by telling him to go to hell and do whatever he wants. The account manager then followed through, emailing the screenshots to the impacted parties, which led to a formal complaint being filed with the commission. During the investigation, Kundra initially claimed the screenshots were forged, suggesting they had been created using AI. However, when asked to provide all correspondences, he submitted the full WhatsApp chat himself, which confirmed he did in fact offer to pay for the sabotage and that his earlier denial was untrue. As a result of the situation, he was reprimanded by the Saskatchewan Real Estate Commission, fined a total of $10,000, and handed the 1-month suspension. So that is some serious nonsense.
Oh, completely. And he's lucky he got off with only $10,000 on that situation, because if those other real estate companies could somehow prove that they lost customers, they lost clients because
even 1 or 2 sales, because the commission is so high. So if 1 or 2 people searched for real estate agents online, found these competitors, but when they clicked on it in Google, it's like business closed, permanently closed, and then went with someone else, they could easily be out much more than $10,000.
Yeah. So I'm surprised that that's all he had to end up paying in the end was just $10,000, because again, like you say, real estate, is high commissions, and if he even cost them 1, 2, 3 customers, and that's big money.
Why didn't he just give that guy the $500? He offered someone, do this for me, I'll give you $500. They do it, and then he says, I can't pay you. Go to hell.
Why didn't he just pay? So you could imagine how hard it's going to be to get the $10,000 out of him if he wouldn't even pay the $500 to actually do the digital vandalism.
Yeah, it's something. So for people unaware of what we're talking about, he basically paid someone who, like, he probably hired someone to run his like social media or set up a website or something. He paid that person to just go edit like the Google Maps kind of listing for some competitors. And
Because anybody can change those things, like a business's hours, for example. Like if you see that that restaurant is open until 10, but on Google it says 8, you can make that change.
yeah, and it's not a big thing. In fact, what was in the news recently is in New Brunswick, someone in Miramichi, New Brunswick, someone went on Google Maps, probably a teenager, and changed the names of several schools, like high schools, to the Alan Legier Memorial High School. And Alan Legier is a notorious serial killer from Miramichi. So that was like a big thing. So they ended up, it was that way for a day or two, and then it got switched back when someone reported it as being vandalism or whatever. But yeah, this story is just so silly. The fact that he over $500, his ethics wouldn't allow him to pay that, and to then tell the guy to go to hell. But you asked for it,
and to use his ethics as an excuse to not pay the $500 when the entire thing was initiated by him.
Yeah, it's nonsense. And like I said, it's the kind of thing that you would only expect a teenager who's in the throes of the puberty problem to do, which leads us to a voicemail that I'd like to air before we go on our second and final break. We got a voicemail from a correspondent named Holly, who's doing the responsible thing in going to the canadiangothic.com/contact and reporting a puberty problem incident.
Hi, Jordan and Aaron. My name is Holly. I am calling from Vancouver Island in British Columbia. I really love the show. I have something to contribute to the puberty problem. Here in Victoria, recently in the news, they announced that there was a group of youths that discharged some bear spray in one of our local malls, the Mayfair Mall, in the food court, and a bunch of innocent bystanders were affected. And yeah, something's going on with those youths. I don't know what it is, but what an awful thing to do. Thanks for listening if you have, and I really enjoy the show. Take care.
I think the lesson there is if you're going to be going somewhere frequented by teenagers or anyone who's experiencing puberty, I think bringing a gas mask type thing, a ventilator, maybe not a bad idea.
Yeah, well, teenagers generally stink anyway because they quite haven't figured out how to wash properly or wear deodorants yet. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I would say that's true. As the father of a 13-year-old who has a bunch of 13 to 15-year-old friends, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, they generally stink. And
they got the weird little mustaches coming in too, where you just want to grab them by their scrawny little mustaches and just drag them out of your house and say, like, shut up.
Oh, my God. Shut up. This is turning dark here. I don't know if I go that far, but I would say, yeah, a gas mask generally around any teenager is a good idea. But I was curious as to why Holly was emphasizing youths so much.
There was a group of youths that discharged some bear spray, and something's going on with those youths. I don't know what it is.
I felt like it was a scene in My Cousin Vinny when the main character is trying to say youths, but he's got his New York accent, so he's saying youths.
So would you say you got a better shot at them going in and not so much coming out?
You could say that.
I did say that. Would you say that?
Yeah.
Is it possible the two youths...
Two what? What was that word?
What word?
To what?
What?
Did you say utes?
Yeah, two youths.
What is a ute?
Oh, excuse me, Your Honor. Two youths.
You saying utes?
I love that movie. What's that actor's name again? Not Danny DeVito.
No,
Joe Pesci.
no, Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. I love him.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but that whole movie is really like an hour and a half setup for that joke.
No, it's a great movie from start to finish. Come on, take that back, actually, please.
Yeah, I do take it back. I have nothing bad to say about Joe Pesci. He's one of my favorite actors. Goodfellas is probably in my top 3 movies, and Joe Pesci's character in that is just like that's pure art, if you ask me. Holly, I enjoy the voicemail. I don't know why the kids would spray. It was like bear spray. That's pretty heavy duty stuff. When we were kids, we used to bring the little, we call them stink bombs. It was a little glass vial with some kind of oil. You throw it on the ground, then it breaks, and it smells like rotten eggs.
Yeah. That's,
you know what I'm talking about?
I do know what you're talking about. I never deployed that weapon before, but I can understand, but the bear spray is a next level type situation. That's actually dangerous. It can hurt very badly. It's bear spray. It's designed for giant bears to.
Yeah, and it stays in the air. So someone with and it's very irritating. Someone with like respiratory problems, like a senior or something like that, who's just trying to enjoy an ice cream in the food court, that could really mess up someone like that.
Or if it's a food court in Newfoundland and they've just opened up a new Taco Bell within that food court and there's a big line up all the way out the mall and down the streets and all of a sudden a puberty problem brings bear spray into that equation, then you could probably sue the city for that actually because, listen, they're your teenagers. They deploy the bear spray. You need to have bear spray officers in this lineup 24/7 to maintain order.
I like it. Now, you probably think, oh, Jordan, we've gone through so many court cases from the past week that are weird. There can't be another one. Well, what if I told you that the reason we may never air another Keep Canada Romantic dating profile is because we're worried about getting sued, as evidenced by another weird court case that played out last week involving the search for romance ending in court. We'll get to that after a short break. Handsome Aaron Airport, we've aired several dating profiles on Keep Canada Weird in our Keep Canada Romantic segment. I never worried it would get us sued. Did we give any kind of promise or commitment to the people other than simply airing their voicemails?
Not on the air, but I did email everyone individually, guaranteeing them 100% that they are going to find the love of their lives through the show.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
You may be worried when you hear this next story coming out of BC. It's a bit long to read. Do you got it in you, or do you got to call on help?
No, I don't need help for this one. The newsboy's in bed, so he's past his bedtime.
Okay.
A BC man's search for a wife ended not in matrimony, but in claims court. In March 2024, the man paid $2,000 to a Julia's Introduction Service Limited in hopes of finding a spouse. But the man says he was left disappointed when only one of the 4 women he was introduced to actually met his expectations. Things started to sour a couple of months in when the man messaged the service to say he was disappointed with the matches. He felt the service didn't have enough potential candidates. He asked for a partial refund, which was denied. With no written contract between the two sides, the dispute landed at the BC Civil Resolution Tribunal, where the case boiled down to what exactly the man had paid for. The tribunal ruled the arrangement counted as a future performance contract, meaning services were supposed to be delivered over time, but the matchmaking service never provided the required written agreement outlining terms and conditions. That technically opened the door to a full refund, but the tribunal decided that would be unfair. In the end, the court ruled the man did receive some value, having been introduced to 4 women, and noted he initially only asked for a partial refund. The solution was a refund about 63% of the fee, plus interest and fees, for a total payout of just over $1,400.
Wow. Wild to hear something like that ends up in court, but also wild to know that this exists. I did a bit of research on the company involved in this. They're called Julia's Introduction Services Limited. And it seems to be this company run by this woman named Julia, who offers like this kind of matchmaking service. She advertises that she's been in business over 20 years, and on her website for this business, if you look it up, it's quite interesting. She lists like, how many dates she's arranged, how many successful marriages and all this stuff. And you pay her $2,000, which to me seems like an exorbitant fee for this sort of thing. And she, I guess, according to this, she guarantees that she will find you a wife.
Yeah.
And according to this guy, no, he met 4 women and only one of them met his expectations.
I would like to see a list of his expectations. I'd like to see what he said. I want this. I don't want that. I would be super curious to see what this man's desires are. But I would lump these dating services, these show up, come into my office, talk to me, fill out these forms, and I'm going to find you a wife. I put them in the same category as like fortune telling or card reading, which would be, I would say, mostly for entertainment purposes. But if you're willing to pay $2,000, maybe you might meet somebody, but it's more the experience and the process that you're paying for.
Yeah, like maybe you learn a little bit about yourself when you're filling out these forms and going through the process of like meeting people. But I guess I'm surprised that a business like this exists in 2026. Like I would have thought of this as like a 1970s kind of business, or even prior to that, where someone who fashions themselves as like, I'm a great matchmaker, I can tell, and I have this big database of people who use my service and I can match you up. Like I would think if you offer this service at $2,000 a pop, there can't be many people walking in your door.
Well, I think services like this are possibly going to make a real comeback, because you would see them a lot in the 80s, maybe the 90s as well. And then you probably saw a real drop-off in services like this as app dating and online dating became much more commonplace and socially acceptable, especially with Tinder and Bumble and Hinge and all of these apps that really blew up, 10, 15 years ago or whatever it's been. But what you're seeing now in the climate is that people are tired of online dating and app dating, and they want to get to something a bit more structured and organic, maybe. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people have turned their backs on app dating these days. And
they're trying things like submitting profiles to podcasts.
Yeah. Basically, they're having probably more success on our podcast than they are on Tinder, I would say.
But anyway, it's interesting that this made its way through court.
No, it is interesting, and he actually got a refund. I'm surprised by that.
Well, he would have got all of it. It said he was qualified for all of it, or he could have gotten all of it because there were no terms and conditions to this agreement. Like a big part of this trial and the decision all came down to the judge trying to figure out what exactly is this contract? What did they agree to do? And I think like the owner of this business, the big mistake she had was not giving like terms and conditions in the fine print, which leaves it wide open. So if you go to a court with like this wide open agreement, the court's just going to be like, yeah, that agreement's stupid. Like, just give him his money.
Right. But this is the kind of service where I do think, although, yeah, there were no terms and conditions to lay out the exact details of the agreement. However, as a consumer, there's a certain amount of responsibility that also should fall on you. As when you're approaching a dating service, common sense or approaching a hot bucket of oatmeal. Mm-hmm. There's a certain amount of common sense that has to come into play here. and not spill the oatmeal on yourself. So I think that this is the same case where you need to understand that nobody can guarantee that you're going to be getting married to one of these people. Mm-hmm. You should understand that going in just as a common sense consumer. So a full refund I don't think is justified, but maybe half or, something for your troubles type of thing.
I think the judge got it right.
No, I think more responsibility should have been put on the Mr. Customer here, whatever his name is.
Yeah, they didn't release that.
We'll call him Mr. Lonely.
So lonely. If he is out there listening, submit your dating profile and we'll give it a shot. If Julia's introduction services limited didn't help, maybe Keep Canada Weird's Keep Canada Romantic service can help. We guarantee absolutely nothing unless you get an email from Aaron saying otherwise. But go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and let us know why I'm speaking on behalf of the Keep Canada Weird listenership, why we should fall in love with you. Now let's move on to our last and final story of the night. This one is not romantic. It does end up in court. It does involve a crime, and it's really disgusting. But I like this story. I kind of want to read it. I know I've done more reading stories than you. Can I take this last one?
Yeah, you go for it.
I love it because it's the Miramichi fart assault. Listen to this story. I don't know if you've seen this in the news. It isn't as big of a story as I think it should be because it raises a lot of interesting questions in a unique way. A Sackville man stood in a Moncton courtroom this week to apologize for what may be one of the strangest assaults ever described in a police report. Jeremy Robert Weldon told a judge he felt embarrassed and remorseful after admitting that during his arrest last summer, he pressed his backside against two RCMP officers and farted on both of them. The incident happened August 5th in Sackville after a university student left his truck unattended with the keys inside. Police later found the stolen vehicle with Weldon behind the wheel. When Mounties tried to stop him, Weldon reversed, sped past the officers, tore through a field, got the truck stuck in mud, and then fled on foot before eventually surrendering. Things somehow got weirder after that arrest. While being escorted to the detachment, Weldon intentionally backed his rear end against one of the Mounties' legs, farted, and reportedly announced, "There's a present for you, piggy." He then did the exact same thing to a second Mountie, adding, "And here's another one for you." In court, Weldon initially tried to downplay the moment before agreeing with the prosecutor's versions of events. The Crown described the assault as unique, with the judge agreeing it was unusual, childish, and disgusting, even though no one was physically injured. Weldon has since sought treatment for alcohol abuse and told the court that he hasn't been drinking since this event. In the end, Weldon was sentenced to a 6-month conditional sentence, including house arrest and curfew, in order to complete community service, banned from driving for a year, and fined $1,200. A reminder that when you run from police, steal a truck, and weaponize your flatulence, the court will very much take notice.
Wow.
Was I right to laugh during that?
It is immature to laugh at farts, yeah. So you shouldn't have.
Or assault on cops. But I think the funny part, I don't know what is the funny part. Is the funny part that farting on someone is an assault, or the fact that he said, "Look, here's a present for you"?
Yeah, what did he say? "Here's a present, piggy," or whatever.
Here's a present for you, piggy. And then when he farted on the other guy, he said, "And here's another one."
Here's another one for you. Yeah. It is funny. It is funny, I gotta say. But it's a good thing that he kind of farted on their uniform. But it can be assault, certainly, if you're farting towards somebody's face, you give somebody pink eye, then that is definitely assault, I would say.
Yeah, and depending on what you ate, it could end up as attempted murder.
Yeah, if you had Taco Bell from Newfoundland, yeah.
Yeah, but I think this, I'm reading the reaction online to this story, and a lot of people are saying, "Oh, those cops were like softies to not take that." But I think this is an example of the police just throwing the book at someone. I think at the end of this whole thing, the stolen truck, the flight from police, then the arrest, I think they were just like, hit him with every charge we can. So he's probably, you see these cases where someone does something like this and they're also throwing in like, traffic convictions and all this random stuff. I think that's what happened. But, any unwanted touching is an assault. And I think the assault was him putting his butt against them. And I guess he's probably lucky they didn't take it a step further and try to make it like a sexual offense.
I mean, farting around me is always funny and welcomed, but farting on me is a complete no-no. And
that's the line.
I don't know where your bum has been. Where were you sitting recently? And what were you sitting in? So, yeah, gross. Don't put your bum or your penis or your nipples or whatever on me.
Yeah, I just love that this guy, it's like his first, middle, and last name are in every article about this. So for the rest of his life, anyone who ever Googles this guy's name is going to see the story about the ridiculous thing he did that ended with him going to court. If he is, finds his way through Julia's Introductory Services Inc. Limited in BC, this is going to be a big problem. But
well, what he could do, and probably his best course of action, would be to not run from the shame, but embrace it. Start some social media accounts as Flatulence Man, and just say, I'm the infamous man who farted on the police officers, and have a farting TikTok where he farts. Every day is different farts in different places on different things.
He doesn't call them farts, though. He calls them presents.
Every day is
Here's
Christmas at this guy's house.
I want to end the show with another voicemail. We got a good one here from a correspondent named Andrea, and we'll go out with this. This kind of ties in, I guess, to farting on cops. It involves the poop emoji. You remember a while back I told you the story about how I saw my mom writing LOL on inappropriate Facebook posts. Specifically, someone had wrote this kind of like heartfelt memorial about a loved one who had passed away. My mom commented LOL, and when I called her to ask what was going on, she thought LOL meant lots of love, not laugh out loud. Well, we have a listener who wants to kind of piggyback on that story and tell us about the hilariously innocent thing her mother did with the poop emoji.
Hello, this is Andrea from Kelowna, BC. Your mom's story, Jordan, using LOL the wrong way. And I know you mentioned it quite a while back, but it made me laugh because my mom similarly was using the poop emoji. I've seen it on Facebook, so I don't know how many times before she used it, but I think she said she used it a few times in our settings. She thought it was a chocolate ice cream. So when I told her, no, Mom, that is a poop, she was horrified, as you can imagine. And I had a really good laugh, and now it's a running joke. But I'm sure there's a lot of stories like that out there of our parents of a different generation using these emojis or saying the wrong way.
What do you think of that one, Aaron? Is that a simple mistake? Does the poop emoji look anything like a chocolate ice cream?
Well, certainly it looks like chocolate soft serve without a cone.
Yeah, the cone's the problem. When I look at that, to me, it definitely looks like a poop, though. But maybe it's because...
Oh, no, it 100% looks like poop, 100%. But if there was a cone underneath it, then definitely chocolate soft serve.
Mm-hmm. I think this is just... Her mom was too innocent. Her mom is probably like, they would never make an emoji out of poop for like this computer. This is a high class thing. There's nothing antisocial on this computer. That must be chocolate ice cream. It's just poorly rendered. Maybe that's what happened.
This computer is just for pictures of my grandchildren and online banking. There's no poop or pee.
Thank you for sharing that, Andrea. Anyone else who has stories of the kind of overly innocent things that their loved ones did online, I'd love to hear it. Anyone has anything to say at all about anything we discussed tonight, go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and let us know about it. If your voicemail is aired, like so many were tonight, you qualify for a Keep Canada Weird swag pack on that same website, thecanadiangothic.com/contact. There's a little button there you click to claim your swag pack. I just need your mailing address and I'll get it out to you promptly. And I will let you all know that if you're waiting for swag packs, don't worry. I'm a bit behind because I was waiting for a merch re-up or refill. I'm going to hold something up, Aaron, and I want you to let the people know what I have.
Oh, wow. Stickers upon stickers upon stickers.
Yeah, I just got 300, a pack of 300 of them.
Oh, yeah.
And they're ready to go out. So if you have your voicemail aired, go to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and claim your swag pack. With all that said, we've gone through so much tonight. This was a great episode. Although it was a lot of reading, there were a lot of interesting court cases.
Yeah. And court cases are for reading.
And we're not that great at reading. So I apologize to anyone who had to hear us read tonight. But let's put a bow on this. I need to give my brain a break. Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time.
Jordan Bus Stop, Backhoe, Bonaparte, until next time.
Hope you're not waiting for the bus anytime soon. Waiting for the bus in the winter is the worst thing. It's never cleared well. You're freezing. I'm an anxious mess when I'm waiting for the bus because I'm like, did I miss it? Is it gone? Like, should I be making other arrangements? Is the bus late or was I too early? I hate the whole process. And adding being cold and stepping in slush to that, I wouldn't wish that upon you or anyone.
Jordan, until next time, I'm tired and going to bed.
I want to thank you for helping Aaron and I fulfill our mission to keep Canada weird. Now, if any one of you listening want to get more involved in what we're doing, we need all the correspondence we can get. So if something weird happens in your area, or if you have any thoughts on anything we discussed tonight, let us know about it. The best way to reach us is by using the voice recorder that can be found at thecanadiangothic.com/contact. Now, I'm going to start wrapping up the episode, but before we part, let us thank a few people. First of all, Aaron and I want to give a big thank you to all the correspondents who contributed to this episode. If your voice message was aired on the show, go back to thecanadiangothic.com/contact and fill out the form to claim your swag pack and Keep Canada Weird badge. We'll happily get it right out to you. Next, a big shout out to Unicole for the intro and outro voiceovers, and Monty Data, who provides the outro version of O Canada that you're about to hear. And then lastly, but most importantly, we have a massive thank you to every one of you listening, as without your interest and your support, this work would be impossible. And for any one of you out there who want to support the show financially and get more out of the show at the same time, please consider the premium feed. Our premium feed subscription costs just a couple bucks a month, and that money will fund the creation of new episodes. But the premium feed will also give you those episodes early, give them to you ad-free, and give you access to a full back catalog of Keep Canada Weird episodes and bonuses. You can go premium at thecanadiangothic.com/subscribe. And even if the premium feed isn't for you, you can still support the show by simply sharing episodes on social media. That's free, and it's a big help. So until next time, take care of each other, hug your loved ones tight, and please keep Canada weird.
And keep Canada weird. Please keep Canada weird.
And now to our viewers and listeners everywhere. Good night.
And stepping in slush to that, I wouldn't wish that upon you or anyone.
And Jordan, until next time, the next time I'm feeling frisky, I'm going to go out and cut some horsehair so I can get some tail.
Ugh. Do you know that there's a big story going around about a guy who sexually assaulted a horse?
Oh, really?
Maybe do a second ending just to
yeah.
So there was this guy in BC, and I got several listeners wrote us being like, you should cover this and Keep Canada Weird, but it's not Keep Canada Weird appropriate.
No, it's gross,
this guy
gross.
in BC, this farm owner in BC made a Facebook post saying, does anyone know who this guy is? And it's pictures from like a trail cam of like this guy standing next to her horses. And she said, he sexually abused some of my horses. And, the cops ended up finding the guy and arresting him for bestiality kind of crimes.
Wow.
And it seems like he snuck on her farm late at night, did that horrible thing, not realizing she had security cameras. So when you said it earlier, I was like, does he know about this story in the news?
No, I've never heard that.
So maybe try a different one. So Handsome Aaron Airport, until next time, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Jordan, until next time, I'm tired and going to bed.